From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Another big jump in confirmed COVID-19 cases as Montana smashes yesterday's record. 429 new cases today, and Yellowstone County leads the pack. Tonight, Q2 talks one-on-one with Governor Steve Bullock about the escalating numbers. Now, COVID-19 hits hard with nearly 100 new cases across Yellowstone County. The state's largest county reporting 93 new cases today, followed by Cascade with 67, Flathead with 66, and Missoula at 32. There are nearly 4,000 active cases across the state. The death toll across Montana has reached 183. Well, Governor Bullock was in Billings today with reaction to those rising numbers. He says all Montanans need to take the virus seriously and take necessary precautions.
We know that the actions that we will take today, literally today, will determine a week and 2 weeks down whether we're seeing continued increased numbers or we get our hands around this virus. Guys like John Felton in public health, not just in Yellowstone County, but across the state, are working damn hard. And we individuals have to take that action.
Bullock also adds, as it gets colder, more people move indoors and flu season approaches, Montanans need to make sacrifices now to control the virus in the future. Well, Governor Bullock was in Billings to announce the launch of Big Sky Care Connect. He joined leaders from Riverstone Health, Billings Clinic, Rimrock Foundation, and the Montana Medical Association for a roundtable discussion. Big Sky Care Connect is a statewide health information exchange for Montana, which will allow participating medical providers to share patient information. Now, the goal is to reduce costs, save time, and make it easier for patients to receive care. Governor Bullock says this is the modern and effective way to remove barriers to services. Well, as numbers keep rising, Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton is set to address the community next Monday, October 5th at 2 p.m. That press conference will air right here on Q2 and on the KTVQ website. Felton also is expected to give an update on testing and recommendations for Halloween. Well, in the meantime, for the first time this season, some Billings students will get to cheer on their classmates from the football stands. The goal is to get kids off the fence line huddled together in Pioneer Park. Skyview students will get the first chance tonight as the Falcons take on Bozeman-Gallatin High. The district will allow 200 Skyview students into the game. Seniors got first choice today, and then tickets opened up for underclassmen. And tomorrow night, a limited number of senior and West High students will also be allowed into Dallas to watch the crosstown rivalry between the two undefeated teams. Well, COVID-19 cases and deaths in Wyoming are also on the rise. Today, another 3 deaths brings the state total to 53. 2 of the victims out of Natrona County and 1 from Campbell County. The Cowboy State now has 5,170 confirmed cases and just over 4,100 people have recovered. Also in the Cowboy State, Governor Mark Gordon beginning today will ease restrictions on restaurants. The governor's office says restaurants will no longer be required to space out seating in booths and are now allowed to increase the number of people at a table from 6 to 8. The increase is also for outdoor seating that is still being encouraged. Now, to help with social distance and to handle the crowds leading up to elections tomorrow, the Yellowstone County Elections Office will open up business at Metro Park. Metro workers and Elections Administrator Brett Rutherford set up today at the Montana Pavilion. Now, many events have been canceled, so the Elections Office could move in early. Registering and picking up absentee ballots can now only be done at the Metro and not at the courthouse. Now, the hallways at the county courthouse can handle just 7 people for distancing, and the Elections Office just 2. So remember, early voting starts tomorrow.
Normally we're not here till election day for the most part, and just our space needs, that's why we're here. It's just the safer option for us. It might be raining tomorrow, so if we have a line with people standing 6 feet apart, we have a lot of space in the building to actually have people indoors rather than outside where they would be at the courthouse. And DMV is kind of like that right now. It's a take a number and wait your turn situation. So there's people out on the sidewalk in the morning every day. So we saw that and we figured we needed to make a change.
Now, ballots can still be dropped off at the courthouse, just not picked up. Ballots will be mailed October 9th. That's 25 days before the election. Democratic candidate for Montana's U.S. House seat, Kathleen Williams, will stop in Billings tonight. Williams, who is taking on Steve Daines, will be at Veterans Park from 6:15 to 7 this evening. It's part of her 6-day, 24-stop, 2,000-mile solutions tour across Montana. This will be Williams' final stop of the day, which also included Livingston, Lewistown, and Red Lodge. Montana Senator Steve Daines met with President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, for the first time today. Daines says she's a brilliant jurist and says the two discussed everything from Second Amendment rights and what it means in Montana to protect coal and energy jobs. He says Barrett has his full support to become the next Supreme Court justice. Well, tonight we take another deep dive into the two leading candidates vying for Montana's highest position. Republican Congressman Greg Gianforte and Democrat Lieutenant Governor Mike CONEY have weighed in this week on the economy and education. Chief political reporter Mike Dennison now examines the candidates' plan to address health care and how they voted in the past.
Greg Gianforte says he has three goals in health care: maintaining coverage for people with pre-existing health conditions, preserving rural access to care, and reducing overall costs. On that last one, Gianforte says he'd push for more generic prescription drugs, more price transparency in healthcare, and an end to surprise billing.
This is cross-provider billing that can really tip families over getting an unexpected bill. This should end. Just because the insurance company and the hospital can't agree on the price doesn't mean they should dump the load on the patient.
He also says he wants to keep Medicaid expansion, the public program that provides health coverage to almost 90,000 low-income Montanans. But he says he wants to scrutinize its eligibility process. Yet Democrat Mike CONEY, whose administration helped pass Medicaid expansion, says Gianforte is talking out both sides of his mouth. He notes that Gianforte supports repealing the Affordable Care Act, the federal law that created Medicaid expansion and the protections for people with pre-existing conditions.
And if we don't fight to keep that, we're really not doing the job for the people of Montana. And let me tell you, people like Greg Gianforte, if he wants to tear down the ACA and if he wants to do away with Medicaid expansion, he's going to have to go through me to do that, because we're going to fight like heck to make sure Montanans don't lose that.
Gianforte maintains the ACA hasn't reduced costs and says if the U.S. Supreme Court strikes it down next year, as it could, he'd find a way to deal with it as governor. Elsewhere on the healthcare front, Gianforte also wants to tackle mental health and drug abuse, the latter of which he says has increased violent crime and placed more and more kids in foster care in Montana. He says he'd focus on rehabilitation rather than prison for nonviolent substance abusers, such as drug treatment courts.
I've attended a number of the graduations. We've personally helped fund 2 treatment courts to get started. And here's the beautiful thing. Not only do we help people become all they're meant to be by getting back on their feet, getting clean, and getting a job, we also keep them out of the prison system.
CONEY says again that Medicaid expansion has been key in covering mental health and addiction treatment for people who previously couldn't afford it. He also says Republicans in Congress, like Gianforte, have done little to reduce drug costs. CONEY says as governor, he intends to enact a federally endorsed program that would allow Montanans to buy cheaper drugs from Canada.
Right now, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, we could cross the Canadian border, go to one of their pharmacies, and we could buy a little bottle of insulin. Let's just use that as an example. That little bottle of insulin in the United States costs about $290 to $300. Up in Canada, you can get it for about $30.
As you can see, so much of what can be done about health care goes back to the federal government. So the candidates for governor often end up debating where they stand on federal health care legislation. Still, they do have their different approaches. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And we want to remind you about the Montana governor's debate this weekend. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mike CONEY and Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte will face off in an MTN debate. Watch Saturday night at 6 right here on Q2 or with the Q2 streaming app. Up next on tonight's MTN 5:30 News on Q2, it could be a shootout to get your hands on a rare Civil War pistol. Find out where all the action is taking place. And in sports, for the first time since 2017, the Skyview Falcons are coming off a victory, and tonight they look to keep the good times rolling.
And coming up in weather, we're seeing a little bit of smoke move into the Magic City from the west. And how long is that going to last? We'll have the answer coming up in just a few more minutes.